On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747 passenger jets collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport, which is now renamed to Tenerife North Airport. It's located on the Spanish island of Tenerife. The collision occurred when KLM Flight 4805 initiated its takeoff run during dense fog, while Pan Am Flight 1736 was still on the runway. The impact and resulting fire killed everyone on board KLM 4805 and most of the occupants of Pan Am 1736, with only 61 survivors in the front section of the aircraft, resulting in the worst aviation disaster in Spain. With 583 fatalities, the disaster is also the deadliest accident in aviation history. Here's what actually happened. On March 27th, a bomb set off by the Canary Islands independence movement at Gran Canaria Airport had caused many flights to be diverted to Los Rodeos, including the two aircraft involved in the accident. The airport quickly became congested with parked airplanes blocking the only taxiway and forcing departing aircraft to taxi on the runway instead. Patches of thick fog were drifting across the airfield, so visibility was greatly reduced for pilots and the control tower. Tenerife was an unscheduled stop for both flights. Their destination was Gran Canaria Airport, serving Las Palmas on the nearby island of Gran Canaria. Both islands are part of the Canary Islands, an autonomous community of Spain located in the Atlantic Ocean off the southwest coast of Morocco. The two aircraft involved in this incident were both Boeing 747s. They were KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736. The KLM Flight 4805 was a charter flight for Holland International Travel Group and had arrived from Amsterdam Airport. The aircraft was a Boeing 747 named Rhine. The KLM jet was carrying 14 crew members and 235 passengers, including 52 children. Pan Am Flight 1736 had originated at Los Angeles International Airport, with an intermediate stop at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. The aircraft was a Boeing 747, named Clipper Victor. It was the first 747 to be delivered to an airline. Of the 380 passengers, there were mostly retired and only 2 children. This particular aircraft had operated the inaugural 747 commercial flight on January 22, 1970. Both flights had been routine until they approached the islands. At 13:15, a bomb planted by the separatist Canary Islands independence movement exploded in the terminal of Gran Canaria Airport, injuring 8 people. There had been a phone call warning of the bomb, which had been misunderstood as 2 bombs. The civil aviation authorities had therefore closed the airport temporarily after the explosion, and all incoming flights bound for Gran Canaria had been diverted to Los Rodeos, including the 2 aircraft involved in the disaster. The Pan Am crew indicated that they would prefer to circle in a holding pattern until landing clearance was given, but they were ordered to divert to Tenerife. The authorities reopened Gran Canaria Airport once the bomb threat had been contained. The Pan Am plane was ready to depart from Tenerife, but access to the runway was obstructed by the KLM plane and a refueling vehicle. The KLM captain had decided to fully refuel at Los Rodeos instead of Las Palmas, apparently to save time. The Pan Am aircraft was unable to maneuver around the refueling KLM in order to reach the runway for takeoff, due to a lack of safe clearance between the 2 planes, which was just 3.7 meters. According to the cockpit voice recorder, the Pan Am captain said, "There he is," when he spotted the KLM's landing lights through the fog just as his plane approached exit C4. When it became clear that the KLM aircraft was approaching at takeoff speed, Captain Grubbs exclaimed, "God damn, that son of a coming," while First Officer Robert Bragg yelled, "Get off, get off, get off." Grubbs applied full power to the throttles and made a sharp left turn towards the grass in an attempt to avoid the impending collision. It was too late to do anything. A collision happened. Both airplanes were destroyed in the collision. All 248 passengers and crew aboard the KLM plane died, as did 335 passengers and crew aboard the Pan Am plane, primarily due to the fire and explosions resulting from the fuel spilled and ignited in the impact. The other 61 passengers and crew aboard the Pan Am aircraft survived. There were initially 70 survivors, but 9 passengers later died of their injuries. Among the survivors were the captain, first officer, and flight engineer. With 583 fatalities, the disaster is known as the deadliest accident in aviation history.